All right, guys, we have to talk about that Steelers Jets game last night, and we're going to start with the New York Jets. Now, listen, I'm very rarely wrong. And when I'm wrong, I'm willing to admit that I'm wrong. I'm someone that stands on principle. And um admitting that you're wrong about takes or updating your information, I think is a essential part of being an intellect. I think when you get new information, you have to update how you feel about things. I think it's a huge problem in society, but we can get into that on a different show. When it comes to the New York Jets and Aaron Rodgers, I was not just a little bit right. Very, very, very right. Now, I realize that the season isn't over, but boy, does it look like it. And let me start from the beginning. I warned everyone. I said, be still, my child. Think about this. Aaron Rodgers is 40 years old, going into his 41st year of life in December. He's coming off of an Achilles injury. He was not good by Aaron Rodgers standards his last year in Green Bay. Didn't throw for more than 300 yards in a place where he had spent his entire career, a place that we don't really consider to be dysfunctional. They usually draft very well. They bring in talent. He gets to say how everything goes. But he comes to New York. He's with the New York Jets. Oh, they're just a quarterback away. Just a quarterback away. Be careful with that just a quarterback away thing. Because if you are truly just a quarterback away, you have culture, you have talent, you have coaching, you have momentum. The Jets had none of those things. None of those things. They bring in Aaron Rodgers, and it looks exactly how I thought it would look. They are 2-5, lost terribly to the Pittsburgh Steelers in my hometown. Okay? To Russell Wilson in his first start with that team. Why is this happening? Why is this happening? Well, it's really not that hard to figure out. Aaron Rodgers is not the same Aaron Rodgers. This is not MVP Aaron Rodgers. He hasn't been MVP Rodgers in years. In years. And now he's in a different situation. Leadership has never been Aaron Rodgers' thing. Even now, of course, as I suspected, when adversity hits, what's he going to do? He's going to blame his teammates. Done. He's going to blame the coaching. Done. He's going to blame the media. Done. Check, check, check. Now it's the media's fault. Aaron, you're in New York. Okay. The media is going to do what they do. They're going to do what they do in New York. They're going to do what they do everywhere. That's what happens, but certainly in New York City. And the expectations were what? Super Bowl, which was also very silly. Here's the thing about the New York Jets. Even going into this weekend, you got Devontae Adams. There's all these expectations, the expectations of Super Bowl. Now you have this great player coming there. He's played with Aaron before. This is going to fix the offense. There were all these other things that still needed to be fixed. And you saw that last night. Aaron Rodgers is not MVP Rodgers. This team does not have any culture. This team is not a winning organization. This team is not disciplined. This team does not have leadership. You can see all of those things very openly exhibited. This is not a shocking situation for me. They're 2-5. You know who their wins are against? You know who their wins are against, guys? The Patriots and the Will Levis-led Titans. They have 2 wins this year. Those 2 teams have a combined 2 wins this year. So, situation with the Jets, not surprising to me at all. I argued all summer long. I even argued the summer before Aaron got hurt, that this was going to be the situation. I know it's boring. I know culture and coaching and consistency and, lack of drama and developing players and, creating an identity. All that stuff is super boring. We want flash. We want quotes. We want high flying offenses. We want stats. We don't really care about all those things, right? We just want moments. But moments aren't what creates winning organizations. Time, process, growth, consistency. The Jets have none of those things. And when teams try to either buy their way or trade their way into these situations, the only way it works is if you already have those things in place. Look at the LA Rams, right? Bring in Matthew Stafford. Bring in these other talents. Well, yeah, they had Sean McVay, who had already been to a Super Bowl with Jared Goff. They had Hall of Fame level talent in the building already. Yeah, that makes a difference when you have good coaching and good talent and you've already had a winning culture. That matters. It just matters. And if you expect Aaron Rodgers to come in and change the culture for the New York Jets, It's probably going to take more than a season to do it. And you're going to need a coach in place that knows how to do that. And obviously they felt like Robert Saleh wasn't that guy and fired him. And now you have an interim coach who also has no experience doing that. I'm just completely not surprised. And I don't know where they go from here. I mean, you've got 10 games left. How are you making the playoffs? What do you have to build on? What did you see in that game last night that gave you hope that they're turning this around? If the Jets miss the playoffs this year, ciao. All right, let's talk about the Steelers, a place that does have winning culture and great coaching and talent and momentum. This is where I'm wrong, right? So I started by saying that I can admit when I'm wrong. I was wrong. I was wrong, Mike Tomlin. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for questioning you. I was wrong. I had my doubts. I did not think that they should bench Justin Fields. I thought that it was going to be a disaster. I actually changed my pick from the Steelers to the Chiefs, was actually right about both, but that's neither here nor there. I didn't understand it. Justin Fields hadn't been spectacular, certainly. And the offense doesn't look potent, but they're winning. He's got the attention of the team. He's out there making good decisions. He's not losing games, you know? He's playing Steelers football. He's done everything that's been asked of him. Why are we benching him? For Russell Wilson, who's never played a down with his team. It was a little clunky to start. It really was. But they scored the most points that they've scored as an offense this year. Russ's deep ball, a little touch and go there, but still got it done. And that's one thing that he can do. There were some moments where I was like, okay, you know what? If Justin Fields was in here, he would run here. Russ is not going to do that. But they want to integrate passing, especially on first and second down, to this offense. And that's what they were able to do last night. 16 of 29, 264 yards, 2 touchdowns. Again, the most points scored this season. I was wrong. I'm sorry, Mike Tomlin. I can admit when I was wrong. A lot of people were going to have to do that today. We'll see who does. But yeah, he wanted to try something different. And it was pretty obvious that this was his choice and his choice alone. And when you step out on the ledge like that and make a choice that everyone is questioning and you're right, that's a really good feeling. And I love that for him. And I don't like being wrong, but I was very suspicious as to what this was going to look like. And while it didn't look perfect, I do think you can build on that. And I have been asking for them to modernize their offense for years now. So I'm very pleased with the outcome. And Mike Tomlin deserves a lot of credit because that was a very risky choice. It's not like he was going to lose the locker room, but some crazy people last year were talking about, is Mike Tomlin the guy, which is obviously nonsense. You know, the Steelers are at this place where, of course, they've never had a losing season, but they haven't had the postseason success that is expected of that organization as of late. And, you know, people are growing kind of impatient with that level of play. So they're obviously a really well-run team. The defense is spectacular. And Russ did what he was supposed to do yesterday. So good for Mike Tomlin. And I'm sorry, I was wrong. We'll see who else is willing to admit that. So the other big matchup yesterday was the Chiefs-Niners Super Bowl rematch. Personally, I don't really like getting into like the Super Bowl rematch thing. It doesn't really make a big difference to me. You are playing in the regular season. Really, if either of these teams lost, it wasn't going to change the course of the rest of their season. But, you know, we got to build it up. And, you know, there's all the pregame montages and, you know, they've never beaten them, which, you know, still in place. But the Chiefs are going to three-peat. I've been saying this since the beginning of the year. I know it's not a really edgy take. Actually, it really kind of is an edgy take because it's never happened before. But, you know, it seems like the easy thing to say, like, oh, just the Chiefs are going to win again. But the Chiefs are going to three-peat. We're all still going to play this year and have a great season and enjoy football. But wow, like the Chiefs just do whatever they need to do. Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid are the best in the league. And that was spectacular. Now, I get it. The Niners are banged up. And really the whole league, like every single week, this has really gotten ridiculous. Like the injuries this year are just insane. But the Niners are missing some pieces. They obviously still don't have Christian McCaffrey. Everyone's questioning Brock Purdy. Listen, these windows don't stay open forever. The Niners have been consistently great and dominant year after year under Kyle Shanahan. You can't just keep going all the way and not getting it done. And the window might be shrinking even more rapidly for this team because they're losing players left and right, starters, big-time players out for the season. It's really looking very grim in San Francisco. And there was a moment there we thought they might be back on track, but they are certainly not. And I have way more questions about San Francisco than I have answers right now. But the one thing I do know about Kansas City is they're going to three-peat. So if you're bothered by this, just start massaging that muscle now because you're going to be irritated because that is what I believe is going to happen. So Sequon Barkley had his revenge game yesterday, and man, I love a revenge game that goes well. I love this for Saquon. Saquon did not deserve that exit from the New York Giants. And to have it in 4K with Hard Knocks is even better because now we get a window into how these ridiculous decisions are made. I mean, you couldn't have written that better for Philadelphia and Saquon yesterday. He goes in there and runs for 176 yards. They boat race the Giants. Daniel Jones gets benched. I mean, crazy. They're booing him and burning his jersey for what? And he goes out and has this a spectacular day. I absolutely love it for Saquon. Saquon is a great guy, and I don't always add the personal element to it, but he is. And the way that they did him was just wrong. He was the face of that organization. He was the one thing that kept us talking about the Giants for years. And look, like, it's the business. It can be cutthroat sometimes, and they make bad decisions, and there's only so much great of anything. There's only so many great running backs. There's only so many great coaches. There's only so many great executives. And I imagine that meeting after that game yesterday was uncomfortable for the Giants. So congrats to Saquon. I love how that ended. And it was very reminiscent of when my brother played because obviously he went to the Jets and that was a rival of Miami. And he obviously loves Miami dearly. He is still there. And it was very confusing for me as a family member to be watching Dolphins fans be mad at Jason for going to the Jets. Like, his career's not over. He needs to keep playing. He doesn't have an opportunity to play in Miami. He's got to go to the Jets. And he was heartbroken about it. But I love that season. They went to the AFC Championship game. It was the best team success that he had had as a player. And they obviously finished his career in Miami and all is obviously forgiven. But when it comes to fans being upset at players, you're not going to talk people out of being a fan of their team over everything else. But I just know Saquon had a good day yesterday. And good for him because he wanted to be in New York and he gave his heart and soul for that team. And they let him go. So Philly wants me. That's where I'm going. Oh, the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns are cooked once again. And there was a lot of controversy yesterday with everything that happened with Deshaun and the fans cheering or booing him when he was hurt. He is out for the year. Achilles, he's done. $230 million guaranteed. Let's just say they did not get the production out of Deshaun Watson that they were hoping for and leave it at that. And then in contrast, you're going to see Baker Mayfield tonight play against Lamar Jackson and the Ravens on Monday Night Football. And I've seen some things floating around about Baker and, how the Browns had Baker and they moved off of him for Deshaun. And yes, this contract will probably go down as one of the worst contracts in the sports history, Deshaun Watson's. But where I would push back on the Baker Mayfield situation, watching Baker Mayfield be a completely different player, watching him have success with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, thriving 4-2 atop of the division, and just assume that he would have that same level of success. Baker would not have had the success that he is having now with the Bucs in Cleveland. I know I say it all the time. I've said it like 5 times already today. Culture is important, but it is. Baker Mayfield took over a team in the Bucs that was coming off of the highest of highs, Tom Brady leaves, right? They're trying to find his replacement. They go out and take a chance on Baker Mayfield, who is on his 4th team at the time. The Browns, okay, to the Panthers, to the Rams, and now to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's gone on this journey. He's a father. He's older. He has had more responsibilities. He's gone through this adversity. He's had a team discard him, and then another team, and then another team. And now he has a place to land, and he's surrounded by veterans who know how to win, and coaches that have a ton of experience, and an organization that has just recently seen the highest level of success. That's not the Cleveland Browns. So while I don't think that the Cleveland Browns are anywhere near what the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are, I also don't think that Baker Mayfield was anything near what he is now when he was in Cleveland. The talent level, maybe, sure, but players develop over time. They change how they approach work. They change how they approach teammates. They change how they approach coaches. I don't know. Were any of you ever young before? Did you ever do some insane dumb shit that you think back now as a professional? Like, wow, I would never act like that at my workplace now. Like I've gone through some things. I've seen some changes. I've grown up a little bit. I'm going to work a little harder at this, or I'm going to be a little more serious about this. That matters. That matters. And if you're a talented person, it super matters, because you have to learn how to apply your talents. You have to learn how to be a teammate, how to be a leader, how to take advice from and direction from coaches, how to deal with the media, how to deal with adversity. He wasn't going to get any of that in Cleveland. So the idea that they made a mistake, yes, they did. That is the correct notion. But that Baker Mayfield would have been the answer there, I don't think so. And I think Baker's talked a little bit about how different he is now that he's gone through these things. And I was a huge skeptic of Baker from the beginning. And then I was sold, and then I was out. And now I'm back in again, because I really think that Baker Mayfield, outside of being a talented player, he needs that structure. He needs that level of coaching. All players do, but him specifically. And what happened in Cleveland, and the commercials, and the beef with the media, and all that stuff, I think happened in part because of Baker Mayfield and him not being the type of player and leader that he is now, but it's also because it's Cleveland. And look, obviously I have my biases, but it matters the platform and the space and the leadership that is within the building, the energy, how people approach things, how serious is everyone. And when you're in a place that knows how to win, everyone from the top to the bottom of the organization, no matter what business it is, they're on the same page. They know how to do things. They know what the standard is. They have accountability. They don't take direction and feedback as an attack because they want to be better. All those things don't exist there. And that's why they haven't had success. So I push back on the idea that Baker would have been as successful as he is right now in Cleveland, because I don't know that Baker was the same player in Cleveland that he is now. I think all the things that have happened have put him in this space, and I'm enjoying watching him. Like, he's having a great season. I was completely wrong about the Bucs. Because of the pattern that Baker Mayfield has had over his career, thought that they would take a step back this year. Again, willing to admit when I'm wrong. And I think the journey has made him a different player. And we're seeing that in the success that he's having this year, and the success that the Cleveland Browns are once again not having. All right, so the WNBA season ended last night in very theatrical fashion. What an incredible series between the Lynx and the Liberty. I really enjoyed it. I know there's a lot of controversy about how the game ended before overtime with the call. I get it. The refs, you never want the refs to be the story. A lot of people are saying that wasn't a foul on Breanna Stewart. I get it, but I hate it really coming down to one call in one moment. You can look throughout the entirety of any championship game and say, you could have been better here. You could have been better there. You could have made this shot. You could have made this steal. You could have made this call. And to boil it down to, that's the reason why they won. I don't love it. Obviously, people are going to have their opinion about it, but the Liberty are the champions. And Sabrina and Breanna Stewart struggled for most of the night. They ended up with a huge overtime win. An exciting series all around, multiple overtimes, big stars, big players, very physical, super fun to watch. And I love in totality that this is how the season ended, because this was an incredibly important season, not just for the WNBA, but for women's sports. and everything that happened throughout this year with Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese and the conversations and the complexities and integrating new fans into the game and the explosion of attention. And you saw it last night in the attendance, in the coverage, the feedback on social media, the involvement that people have now in the WNBA is really exciting. And I think it's the perfect way for this season to end. I think the momentum will roll over into next year. There are a lot of new exciting players. I think college basketball is once again, for the women's side, going to have a really high amount of attention on it as younger players are rising. Got another year of Juju Watkins, Paige Beckers. You've got Flauget. There's going to be some really big names coming into the WNBA next year, and it's going to build on all the momentum that these women have created from this year. Caitlin Clark obviously had an unbelievable season, completely delivered. It's going to be exciting, and I'm glad that the season ended the way it did. New York Liberty had an incredible season. Shout out Jonquel Jones, who won Finals MVP, much deserved, and I can't wait for next year. I can't wait for the women's college basketball season, and I can't wait for next year. Finally, the NBA season is back, and it is going to be an interesting one. So the season starts tomorrow, and we've got to talk about Bronny. So I'm seeing a lot of conversations starting to stack up about what we should expect from Bronny this year, what we should expect from the Lakers this year. And the Lakers conversation is completely fair, obviously. But when we're talking specifically about Bronny, and this has been consistently my take surrounding him since this was something that we were entertaining happening. Bronny is a second round pick. The expectations for Bronny should be as such. To put anything more than that on him is just unreasonable, and I won't be participating in it. He is a developing young player. All developing young players in the NBA get that grace. There aren't these insane, unrealistic expectations of what they're supposed to be this year. The NBA specifically has such young players entering the league that literally their bodies from their rookie year to their third year are completely different because they're still literally developing their bodies. They're getting that grown man strength. They're putting on weight. They're working with professional level trainers and nutritionists and coaches. They're completely different players. So the idea that we should have this crazy expectation of what he's supposed to contribute, and that if he doesn't, somehow the Lakers made a mistake. Be serious. Be serious about what the expectation should be. And the evaluation process for him should be years, just like it is for any other young player that's in his position. Now, he's probably not going to get that grace because he's Bronny and it's LeBron James and it's the Lakers, and all of that, whether it's fair or not, is what's going to happen. But I do hope that people keep some sort of touch grass mentality when it comes to how they evaluate Bronny in this situation with the Lakers. Personally, I'm excited to watch it. I am all about the storylines. I am all about anarchy. I am all about players and fun and interesting. And also LeBron James is still playing at an incredibly high level, and they have Anthony Davis, and they're going to be competitive this year. So I'm here for it. I think this is an incredible sports story that we're getting to watch play out in real life. And sometimes sports gives us those opportunities, right? Like sometimes sports gives us the rematch. Sometimes they give us the opportunity to see Tom Brady with a different team at the end of his career, and he goes on to win a Super Bowl to solve the riddle of, was it, Bill Belichick or Tom Brady? Sometimes sports gives us those things. And in this situation, we have the opportunity to watch arguably the greatest player. I still think it's Michael Jordan, but 1A of LeBron James playing alongside his son in the National Basketball Association. It's incredible. And it also speaks to a major part of LeBron James' legacy, which is his availability for the amount of time that he has played. For him to still be playing at the level that he's playing after all of these years and all of these Olympics and all of these postseason games. It's just remarkable. So I'm excited to watch it, and I will be evaluating Bronny as is appropriate, which is he's a developing player, and this is going to take some time. And that's what it is. That's what I do with all young players. That's what I do with NFL rookies, particularly at the quarterback position. I think you have to give young people time to grow into what they will become before you start freaking out about what it is you believe they will be. They just need time. Well, thanks for hanging with me today, guys. Make sure that you subscribe and like and share and comment. And I'll be jumping on live this week as well. So make sure that you subscribe so you know when I'm going on, and follow me at Joy Taylor Talks, and we'll chat soon.